How do I grow my fish and get size on them quickly? What's my secret to getting them so bright and to shine like they do, but also to breed and create insane profits? Today we're going to talk about this tank here. This is my 75 gallon with my Gary Lang Bozeman, the Lake Antisha, and I wanted to try an experiment. First of all, I wanted to see if I could get the babies to live with the parents. Well, obviously I did that. How did I get these to grow so fast? Now, if you know anything about rainbow fish, they take forever to grow. Well, the big thing I did was their diet. In this tank here, I only fed 3 items. I fed the Grow and Thrive, the Grow and Spawn Worm Flake, and baby brine shrimp. That's it, nothing else. Now you'll notice that there's a mop in the corner. And what I did is I moved away from the traditional trio, and I did 2 males and 6 females. Now why did I do this? To overwhelm the system with babies. Every now and then I'll watch the females and they will pick off a baby, usually the smallest babies in there. But if they're having 100 babies a week, if they pick off 10 of them, that's probably better rates than you're gonna have pulling them up and putting them in their own tank. The secret is their diet. Because these parents are getting such great protein, they are less likely to predate on their babies. But also, you notice I have a little bit of guppy grass in there. So as those babies fall out of that mop, they find that guppy grass, and it's hard for those parents to pick them out of that guppy grass. So this system has worked great. And this is something I've been working on for 3 months, and it's very, very successful. Now, I know this is a discus channel, but if you're gonna breed discus, you better find other fish to breed also. It takes a long time to breed discus, but then after the spawn, it takes a long time to grow out the babies. So if you're starting a breeding program with discus, you need to have other fish that can grow quick and overwhelm your fish room with babies. Why is that? Because to fund a discus program, you need income coming in right away. Now, I do sell baby fish, and I sell them very young to other breeders because other breeders are willing to come in and buy, 20 babies at $100. Now that sounds like that's a great deal. So I can get that initial income coming in right away at a very young age, then I can turn around and invest that back into my room. So that's very important, and that's what this system does. Now you're going to look on the website and see the Grow and Thrive it's hard to make because it's designed to also go in feeders. So I have to get the size of all the food to come out of the feeder and not clog that feeder up. So it's very labor intense to make this product. It is the best product that I have, I believe, and it took me a long time to come up with it. If you look at the ingredients, they are insane. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's too much protein. Baloney. Fish need protein, especially breeding fish. They need a lot of protein. One thing is the females, to produce eggs, they need tons of protein. And they're finding it in the wild one way or another. Now, we don't know everything they eat in the wild. And these rainbow fish obviously come from above Australia, Papua New Guinea, and they're one of the most beautiful fish. And I've been breeding these fish for a long time, and they make me a lot of money. If I can have 1,000 of these grow out in 6 to 9 months and sell them at $10 each, $5 each, $4 each to a fish store, that's great money. And that can go to my discus breeding program. So there's a lot going on in the room right now. And that's what's awesome is you get to a stage where things just start to click. Starting out is hard when you want to breed discus, especially for profit, because it takes a lot of time to get the right pairs. It takes a lot to get quality fish because there's not much quality fish. You're not going to probably go to the fish store and find a lot of quality discus. You might get lucky, and if you have a good eye, you can pick them because I do it often. I'll look at 30 discus in a fish store and I'll pick 1 or 2 and say, oh, those have something I want in my breeding program. So it's not impossible, but it's probably better to buy them online, buy, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them, and then you're going to get 3 or 4 stars out of that bunch, and that will start your discus breeding program. But you want to breed other things. Rainbow fish are great. If you really want to breed rainbow fish and have them grow quick, the prey cock is the best. It colors up early, but also other hobbyists really want that fish because it's a pop of color young. So you're going to get color off of a prey cock in about 6 months. The Bozeman eye takes about 9 months to a year. But if you have the cycle I have here, you're going to have fish always coming up as far as the next generation, because they're coming up in batches of, 20 to 30 to 50 at a time. So they're going to grow. And once it happens fast. You're going to overwhelm the market, but it's not like the angelfish where it's going to be hard to get rid of. You're going to have people that want these fish because they're gorgeous. And most tanks are going to want a couple of these rainbow fish because they just are a pop of color in any tank, and they can go almost with anything. They're non-aggressive, small mouths. They stay in the water column, so they're perfect. Now, also in this tank, I have my F1 stir-by pontonals. I've had about 150 of them, but they didn't last long, and I was selling them small for like $9. Almost impossible to find wild or close to wild stir-by. So I paid $1,200 for 12 of these adults wild from the pontonal. To me, it was a lot of money at the time, but I knew that if I could breed these, I could make a lot of money. And it took about a year for them to be ready to spawn. And I have a video where I showed how I did that, where I dropped the water level and I didn't throw them a lot of food, and I put tons of catappa leaves in there, and I just let them sit in that water for like 6 to 9 months, and then did a huge freshwater water change, and the next day they spawned, and I had 200 eggs in there. One thing about the wilds though is they don't spawn as often because they're very in tune with seasons. So by creating that low water, high water, I was able to recreate their wild habitat, and they haven't spawned since. It was about 200 eggs at one time. Now, as I was rising that water, I was doing it slow, and I was adding tons and tons of high protein food. And yes, I used the Grow and Thrive to get them fattened up to lay those eggs. So if you're breeding fish and you want a product that will increase size quickly, so I grow out my little discus on this stuff, and then if you want to be able to spawn, this combination, now I was never really much of a flake person, but like I said in another video, I went to a buddy of mine's house that I buy a lot of discus from. He's from South America, and I said, dude, what is your secret? How are you growing these fish so big? And he wouldn't tell me at first, but I just kept going. I said, dude, I need to know what you're doing because this is next level. And his response to me was earthworms. Earthworms grow big fish. And I was skeptical because I'm like, in an earthworm, how the heck are you going to feed an earthworm? You're going to cut them up? And he's all, no, freeze dry them and then grind them. And so that's what's nice about this food. Now, I wasn't going to put out a huge video until I saw results, but you can look at my discus around my room and every single one of them are big. The babies grow fast. I really believe it doubles the speed of their growth, but not just that. The fish, the females produce eggs and they produce boatloads of them. I mean, literally my spawns are like 200 eggs. Now, obviously all those eggs don't hatch, but when you have 100 eggs and half don't hatch, then you get 50 babies. You get 200, 250 eggs and half don't hatch, you get 100 to 125 babies. That is something special. So if you haven't considered the Grow and Thrive, what I've done on the website is I have put the Grow and Thrive on there for its regular price. And then I have given, if you click below, the flake food comes at cost. Now, why did I do that? I want people to have the success I'm having with these discus. But not just discus, my rams are eating it. All my corridors are eating it. My catfish eat it. All my plecos eat it. My L46 zebra plecos, they can't get enough of it. And it's something about the zebra pleco that is hard to grow fast. So it's something I can put in the tank before I go to bed every night, and it's cleaned out by the morning, and they eat every single kernel. If you look at the ingredients, the earthworms are the main ingredient, but there is just a ton of worms behind it. So some more worms are in this. There's earthworms, black worms, bloodworms, tube-effect worms, silkworm, and then the ton of great stuff with it. Now, I would not recommend feeding this 2 or 3 times a day. I usually feed these products every other day. And then what I'll do is I'll do a Daily Delight or even the Protein Plus and the Optimal Growth are great in-betweeners. But every tank gets this product every other day or every 2 to 3 days. Without question, and it's something I've been doing in my room. And if you look around my room, there's babies. I just pulled another spawn, 2 spawns of probably about 125 and 100 of some really cool fish, some really cool discus. So I'm really excited where things are going, but you guys know I'm not going to put something out unless I tested it for at least, a year. This one's about 9 months, but I look around and I'm blown away at the size of my fish and the health of my fish. And I know there are people that are going to say it's too much protein. Fish do not go in the wild and say, oh, I can't eat that, it's too high protein. They are on the constant search for protein. That's what they live for. That's how they reproduce. That's how they keep their genetics strong, is with proteins. Back in the day, I worked under a guy and I helped him out every weekend, and he's one of probably the top African cichlid breeders in the world. He would tell me that this BS that these algae eaters from Lake Tanganyika, which is basically a landlocked saltwater, so it's turned freshwater from landlocking from the ocean. So all these Tanganyikan fish, Malawi fish, they were once saltwater fish. He would tell me that if you look at analysis of the algae they're eating, it is such high protein because there's all kinds of organisms in that. And that's what they're after. Their mouth structure was built to really pick that algae. And so they're not just eating the greens, they're eating all the creatures in that green. So some of that protein was off the charts. Now he would tell me, obviously there's a bloat issue. And the bloat issue is because people try to pump them with bloodworms. And I saw that happen. So what I would do is I would still feed bloodworms 2 or 3 times a week because the protein's good. But I would make sure if I was going to do that, I would mix it with brine shrimp. So it was usually about 50-50 bloodworms and brine shrimp. And what that does is the skeletal parts of the brine shrimp help. It's kind of like a fiber. It helps move the stuff through, because what happens, the reason they bloat out is compaction. So this idea that fish don't need protein, most of our information comes from food fish, tilapia, cod, salmon, trout. So they're putting the least amount of money into that fish to grow that fish to make a profit. They're not starving the fish, because that's not good, because then they can't get a healthy fish to sell. But they're also not overfeeding that fish anything that is not necessary to grow that fish to a certain size to make money. So I think people get confused with the ornamental part of it and the food source, right? They combine them. That's a business where they make profits if they can keep costs low on feeding and growing that fish. Where we are making our money on reproducing fish, right? Making fish grow fast, grow healthy in a confined area. So, our aquariums are just glass boxes, and we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. So we have to be on top of the maintenance. In the ocean, they're basically growing out in pens, big pens. Now, there's some debate on those fish need to really use their muscle tone. If you'll notice, farm fish, they're a little more mealy. They're not like when you catch a wild trout and you eat that trout, it's like eating literally a fish steak. It like falls apart. It's just perfect. Where when if they can't flow as much, and their muscles and their flesh isn't as tender, I guess is a great way to say it. This is a staple in my room now, because I breed fish for fun, but I also breed fish for profit. If I don't make a lot of profit in my room, then I can't make it on YouTube right now. YouTube is actually taking a dive. It's not making money. I was up to about $1.50, but if you look at my videos, the views are way down. And that's not just me, it's across the board. Everyone's struggling with YouTube right now. And it's because of the warm weather. People are not, sitting at home watching TV and watching YouTube. I have never put my life into YouTube. This is just a source to get my information to you. All right, so you'll notice at the beginning of the video, I put a little card up, and that was for the people that the 70% that leave this video. So all you guys that are here, all my supporters and listening to this is for you. What I have done is through this week, through Sunday, for every $10 you spend on my website, I will send you 10 grams of Tubifex worms for no charge, free. Now, if you're a supporter, you get automatically, if you make an order of any, you'll get 10 grams free no matter what. But for every $10 you spend, why am I doing this? I'm going on month 10 right now. So for me, that proves that there's something. This thing has legs. We can do this. So that includes all the way up. So if you spend $50, I send you 50 grams for free. And the reason why I'm doing that, because I just bought 10 pounds of TubeFX. I know there's going to be people say, oh, TubeFX is nasty. In the old days, it was, because that's how they farmed it, was out of sewers and stuff. That's where that TubeFX, and it's actually related to the earthworm, I believe, if that's the one I think it is, yeah. But now these things are raised in farms in crystal clear water or ponds, just like fish. So this stuff is high quality. I would not feed it to my fish room every day if it wasn't high quality. So I bought 10 pounds of it. And that 10 pounds is for you guys. Now I'm going to run this through Sunday, but I will probably do something for my supporters. Now, if you're not a supporter and you want to support the channel, $10, and then that 10 grams comes to you, but you will also be in future discounts coming up. It really helps, that money. I know someone just sent a big donation, and when that happens, that makes me feel really good. And that's what I love about this community is you guys are helping me create this, and I will never forget it. You know, even when I'm 10 years down the line, I'm an old man. Well, I am an old man, but when I'm older, I will remember who was here at the beginning. And I will never lose that list. That special is through this Sunday. Every $10, 10 grams of free TubeFX. Spend $100, you get 100 grams. Now, that sounds insane, but I bought this 10 pounds for you guys. It's kind of a way to give back, because it's so special that there's people out there that actually give a crap. There are people that are mean, and that's just part of it, but it's like 1 to 2%. Things are looking amazing, 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 amazing. The breeding is off the charts. I have 3 more products that are coming out in the next month or so. Now I'm kind of scaling back the products coming out, because what I'm finding is my inventory is tough to keep up right now. But these 3 products are so amazing that they have to be released. It'll be something that probably not next month, but the following month I will launch one, and then probably one a month after that, because I have to put all the ducks in a row. What I used to do is I used to just launch products and not be prepared, because I didn't know if anybody was going to buy it. And one thing I learned in business is you don't get all set up to get into business. You just go into business and then work back. Because I've had companies where I've set up LLCs, I've had everything's tax ID, I've done everything, and crickets. No one bought. And I was like, dang, I spent all that money and I didn't test the market. So right now at 9-10 months, the market's been tested. The market works. Now I will go get all my information and pay back taxes. That's the way I do it, because for me, that's the way it works. Nothing worse than dropping 2 or 3 grand because I'm going to get ready to start a business. That is insane. I know there's people that believe in their stuff, but when you're trying to do something different and special, not everyone's going to come on board. Start the business. Just see if there's a market for it, and then worry about that other crap. I know there's people that are going to say that's not how you start a business, but I've probably tried to start. I've had one very successful business. I've started this business, but I would say, and then I had a business when I was little, but when I was little, I was 12 years old. So it was just cutting lawns and doing that. But I knew then that that's what I was going to do the rest of my life. I wasn't going to go work for somebody. I just knew that's who I was.